I just came back from the park where I was trying to film the most beautiful, vibiest read with me kind of video, but unfortunately, Mother Nature had other plans. I was being murdered by mosquitoes and I should have known better. It was 5 o'clock, it's summer, I was by a stream, like that was a rookie mistake, but it got so bad, I had to leave. I couldn't do it, I was going crazy, like I almost cried with how many mosquito bites I had. And that meant I was now stuck with like a few random shots, not enough to do a read with me. So I thought, let's just do a little reading update instead, and like we'll mix the two and it will be a fun new video concept. So I covered all my mosquito bites in toothpaste, so if you see weird blue spots on my arm, that's what it is. This is a life hack. I've been doing it for years, but something in toothpaste stops the itching of mosquito bites immediately. I think it's like the, we call it Fluor in Dutch, Fluor, I don't know what it's called in English, but something in there helps against the itching. So if you ever needed a good tip against mosquito bites, this is the one. Now let's get into the reading updates, because I just finished a book a few days ago and it's The Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. Look at that adorable cover. And this was delightful. It was a joy to read. I really loved her first book, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. The title is a mouthful. This one kind of is as well. So I had high hopes for this one and it did not disappoint. That does not mean this novel was perfect by any means, and I'll go into why in a bit. But with cozy fantasy, I'm always willing to forgive much more because I'm there for the vibes. I'm there for the cozy atmosphere, I'm there for the quirkiness, and if that delivers, then the other things are not so important to me anymore, because that's not what I'm coming for. I'm not coming to cozy fantasy for good writing. Like I've discussed this before, this is an enjoyment read. This is not a literary experience. And on that front, this one was perfect. The atmosphere was there, the setting was this magical, cozy inn with a set of very quirky, like eccentric characters that were all very lovable in their own way. It had just the right amount of magic, it had the right amount of cinnamon rolls. Like there needs to be cinnamon rolls in a cozy fantasy, and they were there. So all of those elements, perfect, like no notes. But I did have some issues with this book, and one of them was that the beginning of the book felt a little off to me in the pacing and where the story like jumped in and the emotions of that first scene, because the story starts when Sarah is 15 and she finds her great aunt dead in the garden of the inn. And Sarah is one of the most promising, like most powerful witches the world has seen in years. She's the golden child of the witch academy or guild or whatever. And because she's so powerful, she decides to resurrect her aunt from the dead. But as she does so, she pushes herself so much that she ends up losing most of her magic. And also, resurrecting someone is illegal, so she gets like expelled from the guild. Like she gets discommunicated, like she is the black sheep of the witch community from this point on. So fast forward like 15 years later, like the next chapter starts when she's 30, and Sarah is running the inn together with her great aunt who is still alive and kicking. There are some new characters that sort of like moved into the inn, like they came and they never left. And basically other than that, nothing has changed. And the story kind of starts when Sarah gets the chance to get her magic back. But that felt a little off to me, because what happened in those 15 years in between? Like, was she not trying to get her magic back in that time? Like the thing that happens at the start of the book, I feel like that could have happened like after a year of losing her magic. Like why did it take 15 years for this very thing to happen? And I don't want to spoil anything even though it's right at the start of the book, but that just made no sense to me whatsoever. And another issue I had with this book is the sex scene. And I think this is an unpopular opinion because people were dragging me on Goodreads for saying this. But I personally think cozy fantasy books should not have sex scenes. It completely kills the vibe. Like, sex is many things, but it's not cozy to me. It's just not. Like, when I'm vibing with my tea and my cinnamon rolls and my cozy inn and my quirky undead chicken, I don't suddenly want to hear about a man's hard penis. Like, it doesn't fit in there. It doesn't make sense. And I don't understand why every romance author feels like they need to put one sex scene in there. Like, I feel like it's sort of like a thing they have to do now to market it a certain way. But you also have to see as an author or as a publisher that in some books, it just doesn't make sense. Sex scenes have their place in a lot of romance books, and in a lot of ways it can be very like helpful for the plot. It can get you to know the characters and the relationship between the characters in a different way. But in cozy fantasy, no, I'm sorry, it didn't work. I hated it. I hated all of that. So I'm just gonna pretend that never happened. Other than that, I had the greatest time with this book. I finished it in 2 days. I could not stop reading, and I was very sad when it was over. So in terms of the atmosphere and just the feeling that this book gave me, it was amazing, and I highly recommend. In terms of the other issues I had, like, they did not ruin the experience of the book for me, but you can decide for yourself how you feel about those, of course. Then I was like, let's stick with the fantasy and let's get a little bit of heftier fantasy. So I picked up The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson, which is this one. I was very intimidated because it's big, it's like 700 pages, and like high fantasy takes a while to get into because there's usually so much lore, so much world building, a lot of like characters to get to know. So I was a little bit intimidated by this one, but now that I started it, it's not as complicated as I thought it was going to be. And I'm saying that in like a non-complimentary way. Like this one feels quite simplistic so far and also quite young. But first, let me tell you what this book is about. This book is about the Empire of Oren, which every 24 years, I think, picks a new leader through like a bunch of trials. And the trials are between 7 contenders, each one of the factions of the Empire. And they are all represented by an animal, like an ox, a bear, a monkey, a hound. And they all have their own talent. And this follows Nima, who is like a high scholar of the Raven faction. And she's sort of an outcast, like no one really likes her. She's a loner. And through a sort of coincidence, she gets discovered by the Emperor and becomes the high scholar for the Emperor. And she organizes the trials that will give them a new emperor. But then during the trials, one of the contestants is murdered, and it falls to Nima to find out who the murderer is and why they killed this person. So that sounded promising. I really like the idea with like the different animals representing the people and that giving them like special traits. But oh my god, the characters so far and the way they interact, it sounds like a bunch of high schoolers bickering. And the contenders for the trials, they're supposed to be like the best, the smartest, the strongest people of the entire empire. Like they trained for years at their respective monasteries. But they all they're all so dumb and they all behave like children. So it makes it very unbelievable so far. Like I'm only 100 pages in, so I cannot judge too harshly yet. But it's not really drawing me in yet, I have to say. It's just not realistic to me how these people interact with each other so far. And these are not teenagers, this is not YA. Like these are people in their 30s and 40s. But they really act like high schoolers. So that is sort of putting me off this story so far. I do like the world. The first chapter was very promising in its world building. So I'm gonna give it a chance for a little longer. But I'm not like obsessed with this book yet, I have to say. But the ratings on Goodreads are insane. I think this is like a 4.3 out of 5. So that's so high. That is why I ordered this book. I was like, this is going to be a new favorite fantasy series. But I don't know. I'm not hopeful at this point. Not really. So just to have a little read on the side when the characters tire me out too much, I started Mary Oliver's A Poetry Handbook because I've been really into poetry writing lately, but honestly I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to poetry. I don't stick to any rules. I don't really know how rhythm and rhyme and line breaks work. I'm just doing whatever. And also I was so inspired for a while, but now it just sort of has dried up and I just cannot find the inspiration to write a new poem. And I figure this is like a muscle you can train. Like you can probably get better at that. Like how to think of things you want to write about and how to like put them into words in a beautiful way. So I just searched for some poetry handbooks and this one showed up, and I love Mary Oliver. I'm obsessed with her poetry. It's so beautiful. I love how rooted in nature it is because I kind of read poetry like that as well. So I figured she would be a perfect place to start. I only read 20 pages so far, so I cannot say a lot. I just read a chapter about the importance of sounds of certain words. Like for instance, how would you decide between using the word rock or the word stone? And you can already hear it, like rock is very sharp, it's very pointy, it's very cut off. And stone is more like soft and it sort of like ebbs away. And you know, like the sound completely determines how your poem is gonna sound. She explained the theory behind this and why you make certain choices. And I think on the next page we're actually gonna read a poem and analyze it based on the word choice and like the sounds those words make. So that's super interesting. Those were all my reading updates for now. Again, I'm so sad I couldn't do like the full read with me video. Maybe I'll go back to the park soon and do a proper one in the morning when there's not so many mosquitoes yet, or like armed with a mosquito spray. Let me know if you would like that, because then I will brave the woods again for you. For now, that was all I had to share, so thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next video. Bye!